Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of So Chatty with Stephen and Walter. And this is So Chatty episode number 1084. What's today's date?
August 3rd?
Yeah, the 4th. It's
Oh.
August the 4th, yeah. So anyways, have to check our watches for these things. So this week we're going to talk about a couple of things, couple of updates on some things. Got a question for everybody for you to answer in the comments for next week. And then, of course, we're going to go through this week's comments on most of the videos and things like that. But we'll start off as we usually do, showing you what we've been working on. Well, I'm still working on the kitty Scratch Quilt, Cat Scratch Quilt by Art East Company. I'm telling you, I had a lot of problems with that one where it's showing the cat scratching down the side of it. I don't know why. It's not that difficult, but there's a lot of little pieces in that, and I have to make another one of those, and that's in that I'm starting to lay it out the way it's going to be in the quilt according to the instructions. So you can see there's the addition of the little goldfish. There will be parts that those get attached to on border pieces and sashing pieces. And then, of course, the other cat I'm going to work on tomorrow during the pop-up sew day. More about that in a moment. That goes down on the far side of the quilt. Yeah, it's been a lot of work, and I'd like to say it's been fun, and it has been to a certain extent, but it's so much cutting. Little tiny pieces, and when you see it here, it doesn't look like there's that many pieces, but there are. In those scratch marks alone, there are tiny. If you look at the one scratch that's not covered by the goldfish up there, it's not just strips, but it's pieces added to the strips to get that angle, and even his little claws as well. Those are tiny pieces. Those are like 1-inch squares in some of them to get those half square triangles that are there. And I ripped it out many times because I would sew something in upside down. Like I said, it's not difficult, it's just tedious. So I've got all my pieces cut out for the last cat, and then from there we can start adding the sashing pieces that go together on it and get the whole quilt done, and then quilt it. And I have an idea for a quilting design. And if you were on Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen on Wednesday, I went over a few different ones that I thought I'd like to do. But I have decided on one, but you'll see that when I get it done. Yeah, it's cute. Another problem with this kit. I don't know what they're thinking, but there's an awful lot of fabric, and it's not the right fabric. I'm short. If you notice, I've got the two cats that are stretching. Their little body pieces are a different color, and cats that are standing up or sitting up, a little different color. It all goes together, and it's whimsical anyway, so it doesn't matter what colors you really use. But I'm a little pissed off that I paid money for this kit and there wasn't enough fabric, and I was very conservative in my cutting. There was very little waste in this, but I've got all these other colors that I have no idea what they're for. They don't even show these colors in the the pattern at all. And I don't know why they're in there in the package. So now I don't think this kit was put together by the Art East Company. I think it was done by somebody else. I think it may have been done by this quilt store that I bought it from, which I can't remember what it was called. It might have been Patchwork Quilt or something like that, but I don't quote me on that because I don't remember. And I bought it at the quilt show in Halifax. So I don't know. It's weird, very weird. But anyways, it'll look fine when it's done.
Do you have enough to finish the cats and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got enough. Like I had to change some of them. In fact, the cat tomorrow, that's just like this one up here, the one scratching. He's going to have a little different color of white because there wasn't enough of this white for in his body like this one. So he's going to have, it's very close, but it's a little bit more of an off-white. Will be going into some of the pieces because there wasn't enough. And I didn't cut my pieces wrong. And I was watching something today too, a video on YouTube, and somebody else was complaining. I think it was Sherry of what's she call her channel? I interviewed her, and I can't even remember what her channel's called. Mind is blank. But she was saying that she picked up a kit recently and was working on it, and it's a block of the month thing she's doing with a place in Texas, I think, is called Stitch in Heaven, something like that. And she says, they could have added just a little bit more fabric in there because there's no room for error whatsoever. And that's one of my pet peeves with these companies that put together these kits. They are so damn chintzy. There's no other way about it. They are cheap. People make mistakes. Everybody knows that. If you're a quilter, it doesn't matter how long you've been quilting, how much of an expert you are, people make mistakes. Add 6 inches more of each one of your fabrics. Charge $10 more for the kit. At least you know that if you make a mistake, you're not scrambling to, put pieces together. I've done that before. Actually, I had to do that on this one. If you look, let's see, where did I do that? There's one that actually I had to make it a big enough piece to use, I had to add some scrap pieces to it. Maybe it wasn't this quilt. I can't remember. Oh, I think it was down in here in his little cheeks. No, that's not where it is. I can't find it now. I mean, that's the thing. You're not going to notice it. But, why couldn't they have just charged me $10 more? So I know I've got enough fabric. And this isn't the only pattern I've ever done that's had that problem. Many, many kits you get shortchanged on. Either they've cut the pieces wrong for the kit, for the right size, or they're just bloody cheap about the whole thing. So that annoys me to no end. But anyways, maybe you could share in the comments if you've run into that problem as well with kits. Okay, so Walter's got something to show you.
Yeah, I'm still not quite done. I've got to put buttons on, but I'm almost done.
It's almost on my kitty shirt. My next kitty shirt. Don't you love it? Now, I don't want to point out his mistake.
Oh, go away. There's 2 minor
Nobody
mistakes.
would ever know.
When I was sewing up the sleeves, I got a little tuck. And
you should tear that whole sleeve out and redo it.
Yeah, well,
I would be so ashamed.
Actually, I was a little ticked off too that I accidentally used black instead of red instead of gray. But anyway.
Well, why? How?
There's my
doesn't
tuck.
show up.
Where's my tuck? There's my tuck right there.
Do people feel that really after you put all this work into this shirt, do you really feel he probably should correct that mistake? They should redo the sleeve, take it out, recut it, put a new sleeve.
I could tell you to take it out and recut it.
You have told me to do that.
Yeah, well, okay. I would have done it if it was really major, but it's not.
Really? Yeah.
You'll just spill wine on it anyway, and
screw up. Anyways, I like it. I can't wait till he gets buttons on it. And then I have another shirt to wear. And then he's got to work on my next kitty shirt.
Yeah, I have to cut it out. Try and get it cut out tonight so that I can work on it.
He doesn't like the fabric.
Actually, it's all right. It's just that it doesn't feel as soft as some of the other fabrics.
But it's comes from
I'm wondering because there's
Island Treasure Island.
what do you call a goldy kind of
fleck in it.
Fleck in it. I'm wondering if that causes it to be stiffer.
Could be. Might be. What's the name of that company? That's Timeless Treasures. That's what I was trying to think of.
And, that Chong Wang or whatever.
Yeah. It is. But I mean, they get their fabric, I think, from all the same place.
Yeah. So, well, I've worked with actually, you're not wearing it, but the one that you have that's all bright colors and it's got cats on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a Timeless Treasures as well. Actually, that one was a cheap shirt because I bought it the fabric for only $7 a yard.
Oh, I got a cheap shirt. And people, when I wear that shirt, actually any of the shirts I wear that Walter makes, people always come up to me and go, "Oh, I love your shirt." And I go, "Yeah, speak to my tailor. He's right here. He comes with me everywhere I go." Okay, constantly. I should tell them, yeah, we're on a photo shoot for this. Do you want to be in it?
Well, actually, it's probably kind of unique because what happens is men's shirts. A lot of women when they sew, there's mostly women that sew, right? So a lot of women that sew tend to sew clothes for themselves. They don't tend to sew clothes for men. And shirts, men's shirts do take a little bit of time to make. So compared to maybe some of the garments that ladies wear. So
Yeah. But, well, a lot of men don't wear things that are really, this would be considered about as loud or your shirt as most
yeah,
men might go for. But I'm not like most men, am I? I like bright, bold, and beautiful. I want to be stand out in a crowd. Look at my shirts. And obviously it works because people, as I said, come up and ask all the time, I love your shirt. And then when I tell them Walter's made them, they'll be, oh, do you have a store? No. And I say, you
no,
could.
and I wouldn't be making a store, that's for sure. Well, first of all, I'd never be able to stock them because I'm slow at making shirts.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I said, you would never be able to afford them. And they go, well, why? See, a lot of them also think because you make your own shirts. We've had this discussion many times before, so I'm not going to belabor the point. But, they think a shirt like this or something, if it's been homemade, if someone wanted one, you could pick it up for like $20. It doesn't
Yeah,
cover
no,
the cost of the
there's
fabric.
this perception that if you're making stuff on your own, like clothing or something,
Yeah.
that it's going to be cheaper than buying it in a store. However, it depends on what store you're shopping, and if you're
Well,
shopping at Nordstrom,
there's a Fifth
then
Avenue Saks, or something like
they're
that.
then
Gucci.
yeah, you're it's a unique actually it's a unique hand tailored product,
It
right?
is.
So
It's a one of a kind.
it's not mass produced in Bangladesh.
No, it's one of a kind. It matches the wearer of it. One of a
Yeah.
kind. Yes. Uh-huh. Oh, we're gonna hear the comments on that one, aren't we? Anyways, that's what. So you've been working on anything else? No.
Yeah.
Have we heard from the insurance company?
Yes,
Not
it's
yes,
sort
you
of
know.
yes and no, but they said it would probably be at least another week. So,
So that'll put it up to about the 6 week mark.
well, that's what I've read. I've
Mhm.
read be patient from several sites. Be patient, 30 days to 2 months or whatever.
Yeah. Well, they're certainly living up to that reputation, aren't they? Anyways, so you'll notice in the background there's something new. There's another new string of lights that change color over by the gnomes behind Walter's head over there. Runs all along behind my fabric shelves and stuff like that. I've had these lights for a while. They were from Temu, and I bought them quite a while ago. And I looked everywhere at this. I decided, well, we're not really using them anywhere else. I thought, well, maybe I'll put them up in here, just add another little splash of color around. And I couldn't find them. I put them in a safe place. Actually, I knew where I put them because they would have gone. I have a drawer marked for this kind of stuff, and they weren't there. I went through all my drawers, all my cabinets, everywhere. I looked in spots where they which should never ever appear in 1,000 years. And then it dawned on me after lunch. I have a little rack over here on my desk that holds, a little in-out file rack kind of a thing. And I thought, I didn't put it in there. It's just buried under some papers, is it? Yep. There they were. And why were they there? Because now I remember. I put them there so I wouldn't forget that I had them when I wanted to use them. Guess I did. But anyways, I put them up on the wall. They look nice. They're fun. It just adds excitement. I have little lights here too. I have one on either side of my computer, and they're voice activated or music activated, so you can see. Hello. 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 Why, you may ask? Why do I have them? Another thing I bought from
No,
Temu.
you have them just to annoy me.
I know, and it's working. Yes. In fact, that's how they were listed on Temu. Lights that will annoy Walter. And as soon as I saw that, I went, oh, I don't care what the price is. I'll take them. Actually, they were really dirt cheap. And I just found them fun. They're reminiscent of the old days of what they used to call those a light organ or something. Back in the 70s, people had these big elaborate things the size of huge speakers with these lights in them, and they'd go off to the music kind of a thing. Come a long way in the technology now. I like making it bounce, 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 bounce. Oh, well, small things amuse small minds. Okay, announcements. So, if you were on with sewing with Stephanie and Steven on Wednesday, and if you weren't, why? There was a little bit of a foobar in there. The day before, I went to have my arm X-rayed, because of this ongoing problem I'm having with it. And the doctor had given me a week and a half ago a requisition if I wanted to use it to get an X-ray and to get an ultrasound. Well, I wasn't going to do it, but then I decided, okay, I'll do it. So we went over on Tuesday morning, and Walter, same place where they do draw blood and everything like that. And Walter had to get his blood drawn as well. So we went over there. Actually, they were really quick about it with the X-ray, and I had to make though an appointment for the ultrasound. And lady at the desk says, "Oh," she says, "I had a cancellation for tomorrow at 9:20 in the morning. You can have that if you want." And I went, okay, because you never know when you're going to get in, right? With these places. So I figured, sure. But of course, that was when we have Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen as well. So I thought, well, I'll just drop a note, an email off to Stephanie and tell her what's happening. And of course, Stephanie will take over, no problem. And and then I'll get back, probably I'll be back home by about 10:30, 11 o'clock or something like that, and, carry on. Well, wouldn't you know, Stephanie says, "I was just going to email you." She says, "We're taking the kids to the county fair." And I guess it's in Columbus, Ohio, because she lives in Ohio. And so
It was State Fair, actually.
or State Fair, yeah. State Fair. And it was a special day because it was a day, they call it for Autism Day. Because, for many autism kids, they are very, very affected by loud sounds and by flashing lights and things like that. So I guess on Autism Day, they don't have any of that. So people can bring their children and, not have to worry about them being, screaming and crying and that because they're, it's disrupting them. So she was going to that. And I said, "Ooh, okay, well, no problem. Walter will get up." And he did.
I offered.
Well, yeah, you did. So that was very nice, Walter, because that was the third day in the row that Walter got up early, because we had to do other things this week. Come back to that. But so he was going to take over. I was leaving at 8:30 for this 9:20 appointment, and but I said, well, whoever comes on first. Some people come on a little earlier than 9 o'clock. I'll ask them if they would mind being a co-host. And all that means is letting people in to the room. It's no big deal. And one of our regulars, Julie, she was there, crack of dawn kind of a thing. And so she said, sure, she could do that too. So I had the two co-hosts and everything worked out fine. We didn't have a lot of people on Wednesday, but weather's nice. It's summer. People are probably away on holidays, things like that. Yeah. So whatever. So we managed with that. But that's what happens. I wish there was a way with Zoom where Stephanie and I could share the same account, because what people don't realize is, and how would you realize, is that when I set up the link, that's done through my account. If I can't be there, then and if we know in advance, then Stephanie creates a different link and sends it out to everybody. But it gets confusing because we'd like to keep the same link, but because we can't share an account, we have to do it this way. We make it work. So anyways, we got lots of things done that day. Pop-up Sew Day, as you probably know if you're on the mailing list or you've heard the videos this week earlier, is this Saturday. Why this Saturday? Why not? Here in Canada, it is a long weekend for most provinces. And what are you looking at now? Finding more mistakes?
No, I'm just looking at it. It's not a mistake, I don't think, no.
Oh. Okay. Anyways, I thought this would be a good time for a pop-up sew day. And so this Saturday, tomorrow, August the 5th, starting I'll open the doors at 8 a.m. Come anytime you want, go anytime you want to, whatever. We'll just work on whatever we're working on. Some of you, though, if the weather's really nice, may not want to be stuck indoors sewing or whatever, and that's fine. It's there for you if you wish to be part of it. Okay, so I said that Walter was up early this week 3 times. Monday, he was up early because why? What were you doing on Monday? Car.
Oh yeah, I brought the car and I got an extra security system put on to the car.
Yeah, and that took all day for that. And I had to go to a place I do not like to be in because it puts me into therapy.
Yeah, both of us had to go to Pickering, which is a place outside of Toronto,
It's a hellhole.
and it's a place that I worked for 20 years,
I worked there for 9.
and he worked there for 9, and it's about a 30-minute drive to get from here to there, and like there's only like apparently 3 certified places that can put the security system in. So and one's really in Toronto, and the other one's in Pickering, and the third one is in Whitby, but that's closer to us. But they don't seem to have a lot of business, or they don't have a lot of what do you call it, references,
Good reviews.
any reviews.
Oh,
So I was a little leery about bringing it into a place that may not be that may not have put this thing in very many vehicles. So I wanted someplace that at least had some experience.
well, it's in this place, Pickering. I taught at a high school there that it was known as Pine Ridge. We called it Crime Ridge. It was a horrible, horrible school in a horrible, horrible neighborhood. Um, it's probably still is. I call it my 9 years of purgatory. I was never so glad to get out of that school after that because I did not enjoy that school at all. But I still say every time I go near this town, Pickering, I start to shake.
Yeah, and actually, I worked there for 20 years, and in the building I worked in was basically in the mall parking lot, and they had a big mall there, right? And the mall's still there, but I walked into it, and it looks really dilapidated right now, and
Not many
that's
people
like
hanging
six
out
years
there.
ago. It was fairly vibrant still, but now maybe because of the pandemic, and also because a major store, Sears, closed out in that mall, and it's not looking good.
Now, it's kind of dirty inside. The clientele are somewhat to be desired that are hanging out there. And yeah. So I drove because I was doing an interview with Tracy Perks, which you may or may not have seen already. It went up on Tuesday. Um, Walter had your appointment was for what?
10 o'clock, yeah.
10 o'clock. And I wasn't going to be finished my interview until probably, well, it was at 9. But, usually the interviews run anywhere from an hour and a half by the time I'm finished and that. And of course, I had to go over to pick him up because they gave him, one of those windows of opportunity, like, you'll have to leave your car here all day kind of a thing. So we had originally thought, well, okay, so we'll go into the mall and we'll have lunch and maybe it'll be done by after we're finished lunch and everything like that. And then we just told you what the mall was like, so that was no thrill. We did decide to have lunch, and we did. And then Walter gave him a call, and yeah, they've got it in there now. They're working on it, but the girl couldn't really give any kind of idea. It's just, well, it's going to be several hours anyways, so whatever. So we drove all the way back home. Okay. Then at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they call Walter and say, your car is done. That's rush hour. So we had to drive all the way back to Pickering. Now, going towards Pickering at that time of day isn't so bad because everybody's coming out of the city, because Pickering and our areas out here are basically satellite suitcase, whatever you want to call them, bedroom communities to Toronto. So they're all coming out of the city. So going into Pickering, not big problem, but then it's coming home.
Actually, it wasn't too
Actually,
bad.
it wasn't as bad as I anticipated. No, that's true. So, and I'm more paranoid about driving these days than I ever used to be before the pandemic. Um, I didn't drive much during the pandemic because we didn't go anywhere. And then usually Walter drives anyways. And I don't enjoy driving. I never have. I'm a nervous driver to start with, especially if there's other people in the car with me. I don't like any distractions. And you never know when there's some old lady going to come out from an intersection and plow into the side of you. It happens. You know what I mean? But anyways, so yeah. So
Well, yeah, especially yesterday after I went
yeah.
to Shoppers Drug Mart to drop you off there. I was out there, and there was this little old lady that similar in age that had hit me in the car accident, came out of the Shoppers Drug Mart. She proceeded to open. She was parked next to me. She opened her one door to get something into her car, and I was kind of watching that, making sure her door wasn't going to hit my car. And but anyway, she had this little um, metal table, like a little outdoor table in her cart that she had purchased at the drugstore. And two of the feet went through the grate in the shopping cart and got jammed in there. Actually, it didn't look all that jammed in there to me, but she was yanking at the thing and couldn't get it out of the shopping cart. Actually, not really yanking. She was like, seemed to be worried that she was going to damage her table.
Mm.
Anyway, so I would have gone out and helped her, but her car door was open. I couldn't get out, right? So anyway, I thought, screw that, little old lady. Go figure it out yourself, right? So anyway, she eventually shut her door and tootled back into the Shoppers Drug Mart to get an employee to help her. And I thought, oh, that's scary. She can't even get this thing out of a shopping cart, and yet she's driving on the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, there you go. And then as we walk in, there's this guy that drives in this great big huge vintage car,
Yeah.
right, into it, and there's this other woman walking across the parking lot, and it's like she's staring
Well,
at
she was
this guy.
actually kind of walking down the middle of where all the cars are.
Yeah, where you normally would drive to get through, and she stops dead center in the middle of
She's kind of
there,
oblivious,
to the fact that I was just about to hit her, right?
or somebody else,
or
for that
driving
matter.
it, and like she just like it wouldn't move.
Like,
Like
hello.
I don't know, what are these people thinking?
Look at the pretty colors. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Maybe she was just on new meds.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Like a
These
drugstore.
people wandering around the drugstore aimlessly. Not this is like daytime senior
Mm-hmm.
mayhem.
It wasn't a discount day, was it? They don't have that once a month, don't they? On a Thursday.
That might have been. It might have been the discount day.
I don't
That was
know.
a Thursday, wasn't it?
Yeah, but they only have that once a month, don't they?
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So that was fun. The reason we were over at Shoppers Drug Mart is because, well, my doctor called and I guess she had the results from my X-rays back. Didn't say anything about the ultrasound yet, so I don't know if she's seen that. And said, "Yeah, you've got tendinitis and bursitis. So I'll just phone in over to your drugstore prescription for an anti-inflammatory, and you can take that, and that'll help." Okay. So I get over there and I pick up the drug, and I'm reading it about, and I'm first of all, it's an anti-inflammatory, and I have read things about what's it called, Naproxen is got all kinds of side effects. Well, all pills
all
do.
drugs do.
And this one especially can, you're supposed to take it with food, and it basically can do things to your stomach. Now, the reason I got a little concerned about that is because years ago they put my father on Celebrex, and he ended up giving him an ulcer because the doctor didn't bother to prescribe this other pill that was supposed to act as a coating agent for the stomach to protect it against Celebrex. This kind of thing, like, oops. So I said, can I speak to the pharmacist? Because, they always say, do you want to talk to the pharmacist about any of your drugs or anything? So I did. This guy who's the pharmacist there, he has the personality of a dead artichoke. I mean, he's Asian. Not that that has anything to do with it. Actually, it does have a lot to do with it because, you've seen movies. I've dealt with this guy before, and he is an a-hole to start with. He can't do too little for you. So I said to him, "Hi, I got this prescribed by my doctor. I have tendinitis, and why can't I say the other one?
Bursitis.
That's it. Bursitis. Okay. And this kind of thing." And he goes, "Yeah, that's an anti-inflammatory." Yeah, I'm aware of that. I said, "But what I'm concerned about is," and there's a big 3-page document inside the bag that the drug is in, to telling you about all the side effects. Upset your stomach, joint pain, nauseous, dizziness, two-headed dog syndrome, all this kind of stuff. from it. And I said, I'm a little concerned about this. And I said, so this could affect my stomach. Yes. That's all I said. Yes. Okay, so I explained about my dad's Celebrex coating. He goes, yes. And then he says, well, how often are you supposed to take it? Well, according to the bottle, it says I'm supposed to take it twice a day with food for 30 days. He says, well, it's like it's like a leave, only a lot stronger. Yeah, and that can affect your stomach too.
I said to you, just take it whenever you need it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know that. And I said, well, he says, well, what did your doctor tell you to do? I said, I didn't talk to doctor. I didn't. It was the receptionist in the doctor's office that she called me to say this was what. I never talked to the doctor about it at all. And my doctor is a pill pusher. That's her first thing she does is you need to have tests done and you need pills. That's what she does. So anyways.
Unless you tell her no, because I do.
Well, I didn't even get a chance. I didn't know what I was getting. I was just told it was an anti-inflammatory.
Well, you can phone up and say, I want to see her.
Yeah, well, I can do that too. But right now I haven't taken any and I'm not going to.
Okay, fine.
I'm not touching them. I'm not touching them.
Until you have
if it's something really, really, if I have really a lot of pain with it, like today. Well, today now it's fine now, but I used it. See, the trick is don't use your arm. If it hurts, don't do that. So.
Yeah, well, that's what you should do.
But it's just the whole thing with doctors anyways. General practitioners are not chemists. They're not pharmacologists. They haven't got a bloody clue. And they get kickbacks from these drug companies, I swear. I'm sure they do. I've seen documentaries about this. At least it happens in the States, but I imagine it happens here too. And the drug company tells them, the salesman comes in, oh yeah, this, if your client has this problem, your patient, just, assign them this. So yeah, anyways, I'm not taking it. Unless it's to the point where it's unbearable, and then I have to make sure I eat something before I take it. So I don't know.
That shouldn't be hard. You're always eating something.
Oh, screw off. Your son. I hit you with my arm, but it's a bad one, and I don't want to hurt my other one. So, anyways, that's why Walter had to get up early on Monday for his car. Tuesday got up early because he took me over for my Xray, and then we went up to Quilter Quilting. So I had an order up there, and I picked something up there, and then they had a sale going on Christmas fabric, and $274 later.
It wasn't just Christmas fabric; they had all kinds of.
Oh yeah, but some other stuff too, which I'm going to show, but not today. You'll see it on the Idiot Quilter next week. I have it all there for you. And then the poor dear had to get up early Wednesday morning to cover for me, for the other. Bless his little pea picking heart. I know. I'm going to hear them all. They're all going to say, oh, Walter, he's so nice. He's so thoughtful. He's so generous. He's such a... Never mind. You're so dreamy. Yeah. Okay. Update on the Quilt of Valor. The one that I made that I washed, then they say they don't want it if it's washed, kind of a thing. I finally heard from the lady who's the representative for Quilts of Valor, to the closest one to me for delivering it. And it's not that close. It's an hour and a half away, kind of a thing. She apologized for not getting back to me sooner. Okay, fine. And she says, as far as the washing thing's concerned, she says she didn't have a problem with that, but she can't speak for the other people in the organization or whatever. But she said she'd be more than happy to take the quilt as a donation. With it. And I said, okay, great. So how do I get it to you? So she told me where she was. I was going to say where she's at, but you would have said bitch. At the end of it, don't end a sentence in a preposition. And it turns out, she says, I'm in Campbellford. Campbellford is a place where I was born. It's about an hour and 15 minutes away from here. So all my family pretty much were born and are all buried there too. My grandparents were there, everybody, kind of a deal. So I said, oh yeah, I know Campbellford very well, and told her this. Then she writes back and she says, oh well, she gave me her address and everything. She says, you come and we can have a drink or something and a chat about Quilts of Valor. And my husband will be here. He's a vet. And every time I hear somebody say somebody's a vet, I immediately think of veterinarian. They met, in the army, kind of a thing. And sounds very nice, and I told her, that, well, I was born in Campbellford, and it turns out her husband grew up in Oshawa, where we live. That's two. Third one will be when she says to me such and such, and we find out we have relatives that were related in some way. So who knows? Well, you have to understand that area. It's very hillbilly. Sisters marry brothers, all that kind of thing happens down there. So anyways, I'm very happy the fact that they're going to take my quilt, and yeah, that saga will be over with. Okay, so we have a question for you. I was cleaning them out yesterday. I have a ton of patterns. When I first got into quilting, like everybody, you collect patterns. Something that people like you don't really do, because what? One pattern, it's the same pattern for all the shirts.
Yeah, pretty much.
And there's not as big a variety in patterns, I don't think, in clothes making as there is in
Well, I
quilting.
mean, there are for men's shirts aren't that difficult. There are a few different slight differences that you can have for a pattern. Like, I mean, this is a different pattern than the one you wear. This is a
Oh, that's your
bowling shirt.
bowling shirt.
Yeah. And so it's a little different, but I mean, the basic instruction's pretty much the same. And so yeah, there isn't as much variety as far as patterns go for clothing. Unless you're a woman, you've got all kinds of different kinds of
Oh, I
dresses
suppose
that you
that's
can
true.
do,
Yeah.
right? So
They don't
with
wear
men's
dresses.
clothing, it's not as varied, I guess.
Yeah. So, anyways, when I first got into quilting, I was grabbing every pattern I saw that caught my eye, and I have never done them, most of them. And then you see the freebies, right? Online, and go, oh, that's nice. I'll print that out. I'll do that someday. Well, I've got a file drawer, and you would think, oh, file drawer, you keep them all in alphabetical order or something like that. No, 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 no. It's just a drawer. And there's a couple of baskets in there, and that's where all the quilt patterns have been thrown. I think I started to try and organize them at one point in time, and then I just gave up. Well, I went through them all yesterday. I threw out a lot of patterns that I know I will never do for one reason or another. Well, one, some of them are just so like, okay, this sounds bad, but I've come a long way in my quilting since I started, and I'm looking at these and going, that's kind of juvenile. I don't want to do that. Um, so I weeded them out to the ones that, I still have potential to be done someday. They'll probably sit in that drawer forever. I'll never look at them again. Um, but I was wondering, how do you organize your patterns? I know some people keep them in file drawers, but they have them all labeled by according to, maybe designer or type or whatever. Um, some people I know keep them in 3-ring binders. I used to keep a lot of things in 3-ring binders. I had shelves of 3-ring binders. Well, that was because I was a teacher, and so, to have my lesson plans and stuff like that in them. But I found that when they're in a 3-ring binder, you never open it up again. You never look at it. They've got nice labels on the outside, but I never look through them. So that doesn't work for me very well. So I'm wondering how people actually, if you do organize your patterns, how how do you do it? Um, how efficient is your method for doing this? Because I'm looking for an efficient method for this. Do you throw out patterns? Do you go through them every now and then and decide, well, I'm never going to do that and get rid of it? Or pass it on to somebody else. The ones that I got rid of pretty much were not ones that I had actually bought in a quilt store. They were ones that I probably bought online. So they were just printed out. So technically they're on my computer. And that's the other thing. I just have a great big directory. It's called patterns. And I've never subdivided into like table runners, pillow slips, whatever, baskets, star motifs, whatever. Probably should do that, but I don't. Um, so I mean, a lot of the ones that are sitting in that file drawer, I don't even need to keep the hard copy for because it's on my computer. But I'm old school. What happens if your computer crashes? At least you have a paper copy. Well, that kind of defeats the whole idea of a paperless society, so to speak. I don't think we'll ever be paperless. I don't know. Maybe we will. So tell me in the comments. Tell us in the comments, and we'll look at what you say and talk about it more next week on So Chatty. So just put it in your comments. How do you organize your patterns? How do you keep yourself straight with all of that? And the next question is, I want to talk a little bit about, I'm hearing this a lot on other YouTubes that I follow on a regular basis, and I know the feeling because lately I've been feeling the same way. Feeling overwhelmed with projects. Like, there's so many things you want to, or what we often say is need to get done. You hear that coming out of quilters' mouths all the time. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. And right now there's a big push starting now. It's August, 5 months away from Christmas. Everybody's probably thinking about Christmas projects, Thanksgiving projects, Halloween projects. There's just not enough hours in the day. I've got a big pile of projects. I don't think I'll get to them all. And because of that, I think it stalls you. I mean, do you feel overwhelmed by your sewing?
No, because I don't ever have anything that I have to get done.
You have to get my other shirt done.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So I'll have it ready for next summer.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Because I don't imagine it's going to happen too quick. But anyways, how do you handle feeling the overwhelmedness? You know what happens to me when I get overwhelmed with stuff? I start to veg. I look at things and go, I don't want to do that right now. And I just sort of stare into space for a while. Or I find other things to divert my attention rather than getting on with it. Or I make lists. I try to get myself organized. Okay, my idea is this. If I can see the list of things I want to do or need to do, and I prioritize the list, I never follow that. But it makes me feel good when I do it because I feel really organized. Then I make lists about my lists. Yeah. And I'm constantly revising the lists. And you want to know something? That's procrastination on my part. I love making lists, but not necessarily acting upon them and that kind of thing. So I'm wondering how other people get over this. I know for some people, feeling overwhelmed with stuff can be very disabling to the point where it actually can bring on depression for some people because, they think I'm never going to get all this stuff done and then I'm a failure because I didn't get it done. Some people create their own sense of feeling overwhelmed. We're all our own worst enemies because, oh, I want to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And then when it doesn't all work out, I know I watch some of the YouTube creators. They have goals. They set goals for themselves every week, what they want to accomplish, which I think is a good idea. But I know myself that if I do that, I have a sense of what I want to get done. But if I start to commit to this, like put it down on paper, then I feel stressed about it. And it's one thing when I was working. Yes, I had goals. I had things that had deadlines that I had to meet. There was no two ways about it. But that was when I was working because those were job related. When you're retired, the only deadlines you really have are the deadlines you put on yourself, right? Also, I've been working really hard on getting a lot of things ready for the retreat in December. I started this
December.
For this December.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
when we go to Georgia, a bunch of things that I want to take with me and everything. And I've been working on these since January, like pretty much non-stop. And plus trying to do my other quilting as well. Now, I have only myself to blame for this. Nobody else imposed any of this on me at all. It's just me. But that's what I mean. Sometimes we're our own worst enemies, right? You never seem to have that problem. You're very laid back about deadlines. Yet, when you worked, you had deadlines.
Yeah, I hated them.
Now, nothing seems to faze him, except the fact that his car might get stolen. But, and which kind of does drive me a little bit crazy because I can't be like that. I have to get things done. Like, I'll let you know some house cleaning. Do we all love house cleaning? Right? No, we don't. I loved the years when I had a housekeeper when I was working. Because that was really nice to come home. She came in every other week, and it was nice to come home from school.
Yeah, okay. I need to do the cleaning.
Well, no, the reason I was bringing it up was not to suggest that you needed to do anything. We do have people coming next weekend. But what I hate is, like, I do cleaning. Like, we got rid of our housekeeper a long time ago. Well, actually, we just sort of let her go because COVID came and we didn't want her here. And it was a bit of a pain in the butt when we were both retired because We were never sure exactly what time she was going to show
And
up.
we didn't like to be here when she was here.
No,
so.
we didn't like to be here when she's cleaning up. I don't like to be standing there and saying, having somebody fanning me and peeling me a grape while the help is cleaning up, kind of thing. But we never knew when she was going to show up, what time during the day, and we never knew when she'd be done. Now, when my mother was in the nursing home, we used to go visit my mother, and then we'd go out for lunch and that, and then we wondered, well, we had cameras so we could check. There were some times when she didn't show up until late in the day, and that drove me mental because we're just out. We were going over to the shopping center. We were doing this. We were wasting time.
Yeah.
Killing time.
We're beginning to wonder, okay, well, is this really worth it? Because,
yeah,
yeah, it's nice that she cleans the house and all other stuff. It was better when we were working because when we were working, we were at work, right?
Yeah.
So, but because we were retired, it was more of a nuisance than it was worth it. So,
so we never called her back after COVID ended because during COVID, we were doing it ourselves. And, people say, people used to criticize me when I first retired and I said something about having the cleaning. And I said, you still have a cleaning lady and you're retired? Yeah, I said, I got more important things to do than clean my house. I want a clean house, but I like somebody else to do it. Well, I started doing it. I tend to be a bit of a neat freak. So, you get that feeling that the house is grubby. It's not really, okay, because neither one of us are pigs. Well, I'm not.
right.
Yeah. Oh, well.
I clean too.
People have seen your sewing room.
Yeah, I know.
Whatever. But luckily, there's a door.
That's more because I got too much junk in there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Whatever. But so essentially, I've got to a routine where at the end of every month, I would spend pretty much most of the day cleaning the house from top to bottom. I don't do bathrooms. Walter does the bathrooms. I don't do bathrooms. I like a clean bathroom, but he does the bathrooms, and we have 3 of them. Well, actually, he does 2 of them because I did the bathroom down here with it. But yeah. But I hated it. It would give me anxiety. Okay, I know you'll laugh at this. But I'd be sitting there, I don't want to do this, but I have to do it. And once I got into it, it wasn't too bad, because I have my routine for doing things and whatnot. So yeah. And I always felt better after it was done because, everything was nice and fresh and everything like that. The dust bunnies had been collected and let go free into the backyard and, no more spiders in the corners. So that kind of stuff. But now I'm looking at it from a totally different point of view. I'm looking at it now as a clean a little every day. Okay, like yesterday I did what I call a light cleaning. I did some dusting in that, and glass tabletops and things like that. I went over. I gave the kitchen a little bit of a scrub down in there. I've been doing things, I've started doing it that way a little bit. Rather than saying there's a specific day, the end of the month, when I'm going to do all of that, kind of clean as you go idea, it kind of breaks it up. And I find that it doesn't, what do I want to say? It doesn't overwhelm me in that way. It doesn't put the pressure on me. Things can be clean. But if you do it that way, I've been trying to encourage Walter, if you see a little thing on the floor, pick it up. Throw it away. If it's a piece of dust,
yeah, I need to get the big vacuum out and suck the back.
Well, the robo's been sucking.
Yeah, well, it's not a big, I need the big vacuum out.
Well, it is, but like I said, our house is not dirty because we are both very, very conscientious about that. But we're old, and there's other things in life you want to do. And if you ever want to get in the mood to clean your house, watch an episode of Hoarders. You'll be just stripping the wallpaper off your walls and cleaning everything after you watch one of those episodes. I don't know, is it just me? But after I've seen an episode of Hoarders, I want to go and have a scalding hot shower and scrape my whole body down with steel wool. Because, you look at these places and you go, I do remember as a kid, it used to appall my mother. The next door neighbor's house where we lived then was absolutely disgusting. This was back in the days when we lived in Norwood, and used to say you'd walk into their house, they weren't the kind of people to take off your shoes, but we were taught as kids, you walk into a house, anybody's house, you took off your shoes at the door, right? Well, you took your shoes off at the door at this place. When you walked out, you had to throw your socks away. Didn't matter what color the socks were. And the things that were stuck on the bottom of your feet were pretty disgusting. We'll give you an example. If you went over there and they had a box of chocolates, I'll never forget this. And the lady of the house, she says to my mother, I think my mother was over there for coffee. She says, "Oh, I got a box of chocolates here. Would you like a chocolate?" And my mother loved her chocolate. And so she brings out this box of like Laura Secords or whatever chocolates, right? That somebody ever show them out, and there'd be a bite out of almost every chocolate, or the centers were pressed in with a finger, because her daughter, who was about my age, a little younger than me, she used to get into it, and she used to take a little bite and go, "Oh, I don't like that one," and throw it back. She says, "Oh, this has a soft center." She poked them out, and her mother didn't know it. So, but that didn't seem to bother her mother. She'd still offer you a chocolate. We go, "No, we'll pass. Don't want one that's got nibbly marks in it." Really. So that lets you know what the rest of their house was like. And so maybe that's why, I swear my mother was an immaculate housekeeper, though. I mean, you could eat off her floors. Like in the kitchen, little ketchup here, little mustard there, some relish on the wall. No, it wasn't like that. No, my mother.
Until she got older.
Then things got a little bit, yeah, not so good. But even then, it wasn't that bad. It was just more or less
dusty.
Yeah, with it. I mean, my mother, when I was growing up as a kid, if you did not see her with a vacuum cleaner in one hand and a dust rag in the other, something was wrong. Because that was the way she was. But anyways, how did we get started about this? Oh yeah, being overwhelmed about things. So how do you, second question of the week is, do you ever feel overwhelmed with your quilting projects and things like that? And if so, what do you do about it? I'm open for suggestions. Okay, comments from the last week. I did a whole thing about introvert and extroverts on my vlog. And this is what one person said, Kick-Ass Quilts. What's her name? I know her name. I interviewed her. She's in Holland. Nice girl. Nice lady. Can't remember now.
You should have write that down.
I know I should. Well, people don't put their name on. They just put their little handles.
Okay, well, you need to write that down.
Yeah, really. Well, if I had a great secretary, maybe. Yeah, are you applying for the job?
No, but
I guess not.
I don't know who Kick-Ass Quilts is either.
Well, you should know these things. You should know what I'm talking about when I talk. So this one says, "I love an audience and presenting. I'm an introvert." Okay, that contradicts itself, right? That's an extrovert, but she does explain. "I go out, be very social, be the light of the room, and go home to stare at a wall to decompress." XD. I don't know what XD means. "I call myself a social introvert because I love company and connecting with people, however, not too much at one time. Funnily, of course, she does speak Dutch. Okay, so she's, doing best with English here and does very well. "Funnily, my boyfriend is a shy extrovert. He loves company and seeks it out when he is free, but he isn't the most present person in a group. He just vibes and enjoys the company. Also, it helps to have a role as an introvert. However, that's more being shy rather than being an introvert. To me, the difference between introvert and extrovert is in where you get energy from, not whether you enjoy the company of people or not. Because all humans need connection, just on different levels of intensity." I'll be really honest, I don't understand any of this. Because this is not the way I thought of introvert and extrovert. Okay?
Actually, it sort of almost looks like she ran it through a
translator. Yeah. Maybe she did.
Because what happened, I used to I can't write Dutch. I can understand it if somebody's speaking to me in Dutch. I can mostly read it if it's because it's phonetic language, right? But anyway, I used to have to write to my aunt and uncle, and I'd write it in English and then translate it to Dutch, and they'd laugh at the way the translation word. And I have a feeling that that's how
that might be what part of the problem is. But I think what she's saying is, she's saying that the difference between introvertedness and extrovertedness is where you get your energy from. So I think she's looking at it from the point of view that some people gravitate to other people and social interactions and things. That gives them a lot of energy, whereas other people get a lot of energy from being more alone with themselves, maybe in a sense like recharging.
Well, see,
Kind
for
of.
me, extrovert and introvert means that if you went into a crowded room, right,
Mhm.
and you could go around and talk to anybody in the room, that's an extrovert, I would think.
Yeah, somebody who's very comfortable in that
Comfortable
environment.
in a situation. An introvert would be the other person would walk into a room and didn't know who to talk to,
Probably standing there milking
or
their drink
end up
against the wall.
at a wall. And that's what I am. I'm like that. I can't. I have a hard time in large crowds. No, I am. No,
You were
unless I get to know everybody in the
mm,
large crowd, and then it's a little easier for me to talk to people if I know other people there, right? But if you put me in an environment where I'm just by myself in a large room of people that I don't really know, I just end up having a drink and standing there, or I'll gravitate to the one person I know in the room and follow them around.
well, I will do that too, except a lot of people would consider me more of an extrovert than an introvert. But I'm actually I'm a closeted introvert. Because I, like Walter says, if I walk into an environment where I don't know anybody, I will tend to be take me a while to start warming up. Booze helps. Um, but if I know the people, then yeah, I'll be much more extroverted with that. But also, though, sometimes because of what I did for a living, where I had to get up and talk to people, not just kids, but I had to give presentations to colleagues. I had groups of people that were for conferences or things like that where I had to speak at them. Um, I was always nervous about those kind of things, but I still did it because I had to do it. And I learned a long time ago that the way to get around that was to create a persona. And I think the persona has just become part of my personality now because I just instantly go into the persona. And depending on the environment and the people I'm with, and I'll use a lot of humor in there as well. And I do like to say things that will shock people sometimes as well. That's kind of my sense of humor, I guess, or sarcasm, like as if you didn't catch on to that. Oh, that's sarcasm uh, with it too. But yeah, I don't. If someone said to me, "Are you an introvert or an extrovert?" who didn't know me, I would probably say I'm an introvert.
Yeah, and also like you said, you had to stand up and talk to people. Actually, I used to avoid that like the plague. I tried going to Toastmasters and things like that, but I hated standing up and talking to people. I just it was intimidating. I thought, what if I said the wrong thing, or what if I did that? And I think people get that on YouTube's too, especially the ones that heavily edit themselves, because then they get paranoid that all these people are watching them, right? And watching every word that they're saying. Whereas I've got the approach that I'm just talking to a screen, and I forget that there's people watching it. So
Yeah. Well, I think too. This is where this conversation came from on my vlog was because a lot of YouTube creators will tell you that they're very introverted, and I say no, they're not. But it might be easier to be. Excuse me. It might be easier for you to be more extroverted when you have a screen.
mhm.
You're not with a live audience, so to speak. And I think that's good training ground, actually. But I mean, I could not have remained as an introvert being a school teacher. There's just no way. You can't be afraid of your own shadow when you're in front of a bunch of teenagers. Believe me, you swim or drown in a situation like that. Now, somebody else, and I was talking about this recharge, Dara Roland said, extrovert or introvert, I think it's all about how we recharge. We introverts recharge alone in private, away from others, in our own little worlds. I feel energy drain from me the longer I spend time with extrovert who requires other people to feel energetic in a room full of people or being out in public for any length of time. The joke about happiness being able to cancel going out to stay home. Oh yeah, lockdown, no problem. I'm not sure what that means. The joke about happiness being able to cancel going out to stay home. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I think the point that's being made here is that it depends on how you, well, I was saying the draining of your energy. If you're around somebody who walks in, what I call sucks all the oxygen out of a room, and everybody's been to some place where there's this person who's used to be called the life of the party or whatever, and they come in and they're, hi, how are you been? Great, wonderful, wow, love the wallpaper, the things, love these drinks, the food's wonderful, oh God, you're looking skinny, oh my God, have you been, and they never come up for air. And you come away from that person going, I need a nap now, because they have sucked all the energy out of you. Now that's an extreme extrovert, but I often wonder, people who do that kind of thing, if they're not using that as a defense mechanism to cover up for a low self-esteem, or to overcompensate for their feelings of being an introvert or whatever, so it goes the other way. So that may be what's being said here. Lisa says, I think being an introvert just means that being around other people drains rather than recharges people. It's not about genuinely disliking people or being incapable of communicating with others. See, this is where the reason I looked at these comments and brought them up is because these do not fit the definition that I thought goes with introvert and extrovert, the way I understand it. Like this one, I think being an introvert just means that being around other people drains rather than recharges people. I'm not sure what to say about that. I mean, beyond what I just said a moment ago, like the extrovert who sucks all the oxygen out of the room kind of a thing. But it says it's not about genuine disliking people or being incapable of communicating with others. Well, I don't think that an introvert necessarily hates people. I think they're afraid, like Walter said, that maybe they're afraid that they'll do or say something that will upset other people or will make them look bad. So best to keep your distance. I don't know. What are you doing? Looking up
Well, I'm just
definitions?
looking at it. Yeah, it says an introvert is a person that with qualities of personality type known as introversion, which means that they feel more comfortable focusing on their inner thoughts and ideas rather than what's happening externally. They enjoy spending time with just one or two people rather than large groups or crowds.
Okay. Well, that
Which
makes
is
sense.
Well, I don't mind being in large groups or crowds, but I have trouble socializing in those environments.
Yeah, I can't be a social butterfly that bounces from one group of people to another group of people. You know, the ones you're at a party or something, and there's a lot of people there you may not know, but there's always one person who seems to make it their job to go around and talk to everybody
Yeah.
about something. And I can't do that. I mean, if I'm really not interested in you.
So I guess maybe YouTube does loan itself to being an
Yeah,
introvert, and because
in that sense.
like what we're doing right here, I'm just here with you
Yeah,
doing this, right? So I'm not with the whole crowd of people that are watching,
no.
right?
But this also brings up another point, and this is why I brought it up here on So Chatty. There are lots of people who've never been to a retreat and are afraid to go to a retreat, and there are probably people who are very introverted. They're walking into a room with, 10, 15, 20, 25 other people that they may not know or know very well. And they're spending maybe several days with these people. And although we have a common interest, we're all working on a quilts or sewing and doing that kind of stuff. Some people just may not be comfortable in that
Well,
environment.
see, in that environment, the way I look at it is that you may not be a confident quilter, or you think you're not a confident quilter, and you're afraid somebody's going to walk up behind you and look over your shoulder to see what you're doing.
And it happens. I would like to say that never happens, that quilters are really nice people, but there's always going to be one in the crowd who is going to come over and give you a sense that they may not say it directly to you, but you have this sense that they're judging you. And, that for somebody who hasn't been quilting for that long, I could see how that could be a real problem. Well, I know the very first time I ever went to a retreat, I was in that boat. I kind of thought, these people know what they're doing in the whole bit. It turned out though that they all wanted to help me with things and whatnot, and so that made you feel comfortable. So what I always try to do when I'm on a retreat or even on the Zoom retreats, if somebody new is coming on to one of my Zoom so days or whatever, I try to make them feel welcome and let them know that this is a safe space. Nobody's going to criticize you. If you have questions, just feel free to ask. People are more than willing to help you out, and don't be afraid to ask questions, because that's what we're all there for. We're all learning something from each other, and even people who have been quilting for 20 years or longer and this kind of stuff.
That's why I like kind of Zoom days, because you can be as confident quilter or beginner quilter, and you can come on there and there's nobody going to be there looking over your shoulder.
Nobody will be hovering over you, watching, like at a retreat possibly. Like, because unless you show what you're working on, they can't really see it on a Zoom. Now, well, there was one retreat, well, I think it was the last retreat that we went on. There was one woman who kept hovering over by Walter.
Yeah, she kept coming over. I was making some shirts and getting stuff. I had what I call bag of shirts. I had a bunch of shirts cut out, and I was assembling them. And this woman came over, and she kept hanging over me and saying, "Oh, why are you making shirts? Who are you making them for?" And I'd say, "Well, for him and me." And "Oh, do you sell them? Do you do this? Well, how come you don't sell them?" And like going on about it, and I'm going, because I don't want to. I mean, stop asking me questions as to why I'm making shirts.
Like, it wasn't like mind it necessarily being asked one or two questions, because there's friendly questions, right? Oh, so you make shirts? Well, that's nice. Who you make them for? That's good, and that kind of thing. But she was intrusive,
yes,
with it all. Like, you're trying to
work on something. I'm at a quilt retreat. I'm the only one that's not quilting. I'm doing shirts, right? So, well, I'm sewing, so it doesn't matter what I'm doing, right? So,
but it was like in her questioning, there was judgment. You could hear the judginess in her voice, and that was kind of unnerving. I mean, you could have fixed that up. Go, well, I'm not going to answer any more of your questions. Go over and do whatever you're doing, bitch. But then again, that might just set a mood that you don't want to set. So anyways, comments about the machine embroidery stuff we talked about last week. From M. Wilson, thank you both for this video. I agree with all your embroidery advice. My Janome 500E is excellent, and I never experienced problems with using Floriani threads. I also like files from the companies you mentioned. Great advice also regarding checking the range of travel for your hoop. So easy to move the machine when cleaning, and even a ½ inch out can cause problems. I clean my machine thoroughly after every project and oil it lightly when required. Regards to you both. So, and then another person said, I had my Janome 15,000 for 2 years plus. That was my machine from Hal. After the initial, wow, look what I made, I found I didn't use it. I realized that my creative soul needs to make things hands-on. Watching the machine stitch out just didn't float my boat. I don't regret having it, but I sold it. I don't have the real estate to leave it out on a table. And yeah, and that's a very legitimate thing. It may not be your cup of tea to do machine embroidery, and that is perfectly all right. But if you don't try, you don't know, right? Now,
actually, I happen to really, I've always liked the embroidery, the basic embroidery, not the applique stuff that Steve does and stuff. I didn't even know that the machines could do that sort of thing. But I always was fascinated with just plain old embroidery, and I like watching machines stitch it out.
Yeah, and that was from Teresa. And yeah, it can be boring doing machine embroidery. If it's doing a long piece and if you're just sitting there and it's doing its thing, you take a little nap. That's when it's really good. And this is why I also say, beyond the mechanical problems you could have with the combination machine, it's good if you have a sewing machine and an embroidery machine that are separate, or at least another sewing machine you can go to and so on, while your embroidery machine is doing something that takes a long time to do. So you're not bored with it. That's how I do mine.
I mean, there's also weird things like the 550E or 500 models of sewing of embroidery machines that are Janome brands are dedicated embroidery machines.
Yeah,
they don't actually sew. You can't actually really sew on it, right?
Yeah, and we've had this whole discussion.
Yeah,
about
I know that. But there are some people that have said to me, "Oh, well, how do you get that machine to sew?" And I said, "Well, you can't. It's an embroidery machine. It just does embroidery."
Yeah,
right.
It doesn't sew. It doesn't have any feed dogs on it. It can't do it. It does stitches, yes, but those are programmed into it. into the file. But anyways, those were the comments this week that we had from the videos and everything. And thank you for your comments, and keep sending them because we enjoy reading them, and we like to answer questions that you may have or respond to comments you may have. Whether you agree with us or not, it doesn't matter. You don't have to agree with what we say. Okay, we are not the definitive statement on any of these topics. We just tell you what we know and what we've learned from experience.
Yeah, from our experience.
Yeah.
But...
So anyways, I hope that if you're free tomorrow, you'll come in at least for a little while, if not the whole day, to the pop-up sew day. As I said, it will start at 8 in the morning. Well, I will be here with it opened at 8 in the morning. So if you're up and you're ready to go, then fine. But if you're not ready to go until, say, a couple of hours later, or whatever your time zone might be, that's okay too. You don't have to be there for the whole day, and you don't have to come at 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. Okay, any time is, and it's always fun. We always have a good time. Always learn lots of things. There's always lots of chatter, and everybody tells me they get a lot done. So bring it on. And yeah, so hope you have a good what's left of the weekend left of the week. Today's Friday, right? Yeah. So for those of you in Canada, it's a long weekend. Have a good one. And for everybody else, just enjoy the weekend, and hopefully the weather will be nice and you can have some fun. And we'll see you next week. So say goodbye, Walter.
Goodbye.
Bye, all.